My ancestors were part of the French Huguenots, who, due to religious persecution, fled France and settled in the Cape between 1688 and 1691. A total of 178 families on 4 ships. In 1913, my great-grandfather trekked from Daar in the Northern Cape, over 1,000 miles by ox wagon, to a little place called West Nicholson in southern Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe. And that's where my life started. From humble beginnings as a 4th generation Zimbabwean in a cattle ranching background. Let me highlight the contrast of my life before I got sent to prison. I was living the good life. I worked hard, played hard, as an avid sportsman, playing several rugby tests for Zimbabwe too. I lived what you might call a pretty successful life with numerous thriving businesses. I was so busy being successful though, that after 14 years, my marriage fell apart. And I no longer lived under the same roof as my beloved children. I missed them terribly. But through making the right business decisions, by the year 2000, life couldn't have been better for this farm boy who grew up dirt poor. I was extremely happy. Making plenty of money in my safari business. I was flying my own aircraft. At a fishing resort on the shores of beautiful Lake Kariba in Zimbabwe. Flashy cars, houseboats, speedboats, you name it. To top it off, I was engaged to a beautiful woman. Then in an instant, my world was turned upside down. It all started one weekend in December 2000. Sorry, I'm a bit... These are showing that's my fishing resort, showing my safari days, my airplane, one of the houseboats. I'm going to have to give the clicker a skip. It all started one weekend in December 2000 when I went on a fishing trip with friends to my fishing resort on Lake Kariba. Late one afternoon, one of my mates and I decided to go tiger fishing on the lake, leaving the other guys bream fishing in the river. And on our way back, we spotted 2 fish poachers in a steel boat, who immediately upon seeing us started paddling hastily for the shore in an effort to get away from us. Knowing that they were notorious poachers, I drove my boat towards them to scare them off, and the wake of my boat tilted their boat, causing them to jump out into the water, which was about 1.5 meters deep. They were about 3 meters from the shore. They soon scrambled to dry land. My friend and I then watched as they ran away into the bush and thought nothing more of it. The following day, the police arrived with one of the poachers. They accused us of drowning the other one. To cut a long story short, I was framed by the poacher, the police, and the courts in an ugly, politically influenced conspiracy and sentenced to 15 years in Zimbabwe's prisons, of which 5 were removed as remission. Unbelievably, my co-accused only got a $10 fine and was set free because he was not driving the boat. And that's exactly as it was stated in the judgment. On the 3rd of April 2003, during the height of the land invasion chaos in Zimbabwe, against police evidence, without a body and on presumptions, I was convicted of drowning that poacher. The shock was inexpressible. I was innocent. I was a successful, self-made businessman with a high standing in the community. You can only imagine what was going through my mind when they read out that verdict. But what I didn't know then was from that moment on, my life would never be the same again. For the first 8 years, only one set of clothing was allowed at any one time. Standard white short-sleeve shirt and a pair of drawstring white shorts. Underwear was forbidden. After 6 months, you got a change of clothing. Sometimes. Other times after 9 months, leaving us walking around in tatters. I shared a cell 13 meters long or 3 meters wide with 78 other inmates. Each person had 33 centimeters, 13 inches, marked out on the walls in chalk. That was your space. The toilet was a stainless steel bowl sunk into an open 1 meter square cement block in one corner, as you can see in my sketch up there. As cushioning, we were packed like sardines on our sides, with legs all crossing over in the middle. We all faced the same direction. When you turned over, it was all together. As cushioning against the cold concrete floor, you'd fold 2 of your paper-thin, worn-out light-stripping blankets several times to fit your space, then cover yourself with the third one. And your clothes wrapped around your toothbrush and toothpaste, or they'd get stolen, and that was your pillow. From sleeping on those freezing hard floors, my hips had bruised black rings for years, and shoulders still give trouble today. During those lonely long years, I'd watch the pigeons day after day. After they'd eaten the pieces of pup off the exercise yard floor, they'd fly over those high razor wire topped walls, and I wished a million times that I could somehow just fly away with them and be free again. And I don't believe there's a prisoner that doesn't think that, because it is the only glimpse of freedom you get to see in there. It's just cold walls, bars, and razor wire. No furniture whatsoever. No beds, no tables, no chairs, no cupboards, nothing. Not even a mirror. Didn't see my face for the first 8 years. But just rows of fully folded blankets and hundreds of well-used water bottles on bare concrete floors. We had no basins or taps in the cells, and only one set of clothing was allowed at any one time. So we had to wash our clothes in the cell toilets at night wearing a blanket, then hang them on the walls with smuggled book staples to dry by the next morning. 3 or 4 of us would get together and take turns to wash our clothes, because one garment had to be used to block the toilet to allow the toilet bowl to fill up when it emptied the flush, and the water only ever dribbled in slowly. No toilets flush in prison. Then we'd wash the clothes on the cement blocks surrounding the toilet bowl, dipping them in and out as they washed, as you can see in my sketch. At about 5 a.m., we'd take the slightly damp clothes, place them on the cleanly swept concrete floor, and rub the creases out with a prison-made sponge. Then fold them neatly, place them in a pile, put a hand towel over the pile, and stamp on it hard with bare feet, leaving them perfectly ironed. Now the hour hanging on the walls, they'd be ready to wear. Imagine wearing the clothes you're wearing now for 6 months without a change. Then to retain your dignity, having to wash them in a well-used toilet. In 2005, during the Zimbabwe dollar crash, Harare city ran out of water. For 3 years, while in Chikurubi maximum security prison, each prisoner was allocated only 1 plastic cup of water a day. 1 cup of dirty orange city runoff water from a nearby dam carried by farm prisoners. That was to drink, clean your teeth, wash your face, bath, everything. for 3 years. That's us sitting in formation, waiting for our 1 cup a day. I learned in prison that the most important things in life cannot be bought: health, loved ones, and friends. And I'm going to work backwards through that order, starting with the importance of friendships. Proverbs 27:17 says, "As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another." There's a special unwritten code that bonds friends like we all share in this part of the world. The warm, caring, and considerate society we make up from all walks of life can never be equaled anywhere. I shared treasured memories with thousands of good people in Africa. And it was those memories and the endless generosity and consideration and knowing what a fantastic bunch of people we still have left here that kept me going all those years in hell. Knowing that one day I'd be traveling around reminding you, including you guys here today, never to forget the value of your friends. Because only when you have them all taken away do you realize how much they mean to you. Loved ones, Proverbs 17:17. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a time of adversity. And mine was my sister. In June 2006, the prisoner death rate was so high from malnutrition and disease that prison headquarters started allowing relatives to deliver food to their loved ones daily. My darling sisters, Bev and Lynn, scraped money from wherever and sold furniture to feed me for 3 months until Lynn sold her clay pot business and gave up her career just to feed me for 4 more years. That takes a very special person. And I can honestly say that without her, I wouldn't be standing up here today. I'm truly blessed to have her in my life. Unfortunately, very few relatives could financially afford to feed their loved one daily, and I helped as many guys as I could afford to, but the hunger continued for most. Friends, family, love and support sustained me as much as the warm home-cooked food they brought. Proverbs 17:22. Cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. During my first 6 years in prison, I watched over 2,200 guys die. 2,200 guys die, just where I was. It was most of them from malnutrition, during the Zimdolo crash, when there was no food outside of prison, never mind in there. During the cholera outbreak of 2008 and 2009, in 8 months, out of 1,200 prisoners at Harare Central Prison, 432 guys died. More than 1/3 of us in 8 months. One weekend, 22 guys died. And that triggered something inside me about my health. And I want to challenge each and every one of you here today to do a rain check on your health. Because once your health is gone, everything else in life will have no meaning whatsoever. After Red Cross had taken over feeding, in March 2009, and things got back to normal in there, we began a soccer league. Now delighted to make the prison squad as a goalkeeper, giving me the privilege of walking under a strict escort to play against the opposite side on the field in their compound. And during our jovial march there, singing all the way with fellow players, I asked one of the guards if I may touch my first tree in 6.5 years. When granted permission, I joyously broke formation and did so. And I clearly remember the roughness of the bark, reminding me of my granddad's forearms, and the distinct smell of that jacaranda tree, which I knew so well. You have no idea how beautiful and uplifting it felt just to touch a tree and feel green grass again. My first evening at Connemara Open Prison, which is a farm prison where I was transferred after 8 years, I spent sitting around an open fire on old logs and bleached cattle skulls, chatting with old Ndebele inmates. Take me back to what I loved so dearly as a child. And I remember getting lost in their interesting stories, the beauty of the sunset, the dancing flames, tranquil call of an nightjar, but most of all, the bright stars and the moon, which I hadn't seen for 8 lonely long years. I didn't see a sunrise or a sunset either for my first 8 years. Now, I appreciate the everyday little things in life, like a soft bed, a hot bath, tasty meal, or a spontaneous cuddle from a loved one. Because those are the things you miss most when you have it all taken away. There are things we know that rejuvenate us. And for me, it has always been nature. I am, and will forever be, a farm boy from Zimbabwe. Nature's in my blood. Touching a tree, smelling the earth, the feeling of soil in my hands. These things bring me restoration. For you, it might be hanging out with friends, dancing, reading a good book, swimming in the ocean. Whatever is good for you, do more of it. Despite the hell I'd gone through, physically and mentally, the worst part was knowing that my beloved children were growing up without me. I told you in the beginning that not living under the same roof as them when my wife and I separated was the hardest thing. Imagine the heartbreak I felt when I went to prison. We have always been extremely close. It is a bond I will cherish and protect to my dying day. My proud son Dusty, only 18 at the time, was always full of ambition. And we'd joyously discuss and dream of making millions and plan endless projects and adventures. He was following in my footsteps and loving every minute of it, ready to take on the world with his dad, and then I was ripped away. My 16-year-old daughter Sandy and I had, and still have, an extraordinarily beautiful bond. Since a baby, she's always been my shadow. And as special as she is to me, I am to her. But at 16, I was her anchor. I was everything in her eyes. She confided in me without boundaries and clung to everything I said and did. I loved them beyond expression. They loved me. And the times they needed me most, I wasn't there. They went through first loves, crushes, dances, 21st birthdays, and entered the wild world. And I wasn't there to see it. It is an annoying feeling knowing that I'm their father and should have been there, but I couldn't be. And I don't want anyone here ever to have to feel that way. Make enough time for your loved ones. How my spiritual and positive mental attitude got me through there. Romans 8:35. Can anything ever separate us from Christ's love? Does it mean he no longer loves us if we have trouble or calamity, or are persecuted, or hungry, or destitute, or in danger, or threatened with death? The Lord said we wouldn't, he didn't say we wouldn't have trials and tribulations. He said he'd walk with us through those trials and tribulations. After being moved to a medium security prison, while delivering food one day, my sister asked me if I would like an iPod. So I said to her, what's an iPod? She said, it's a thing that plays music. So I said, well, how big is it? She indicated this small, flat little thing. So I said, well, how many songs does it play? She said, about 1,000. I said, no ways. Where do you put all the CDs? That's how much technology had advanced in just 6 years I've been away. That was in 2009. And if you thought in 2003, like, there was no, like taking a picture of the phone and sending it to someone was like Star Wars. There's nothing like that. It was a complete different world. Anyway, the following day, the iPod arrived under the salad. And about a week later, a cell phone was sneaked into, one of those cheap Nokia things with the rechargeable batteries. It was exciting, risky business that you couldn't dream of in a maximum security prison. And everything was going perfectly until an envious prisoner reported me. And after an unexpected search, unbelievably through some quick maneuvering with on-site guards, nothing was discovered. But I was sent to solitary confinement anyway for 2 years. That was extremely lonely. But after experiencing that precious little link to the outside world, I had to get my phone back. And I did, which made a huge difference. 18 months later, everything going perfectly, one of the friendly guards approached my pile at 5 in the morning and whispered, Russ, they're coming for your phone. And there's no way of getting a phone out of there. But someone had brought me a protein powder about a month before, and it was a big story to get it in. Went through the doctor and the security and everything. When I got it, I took the lid off. There's a silver seal. So I broke the seal, tasted it. When I put the seal and closed it, the next time I opened that seal, it stuck. So I thought, I'm going to save this to hide my phone. So that morning, opened it, broke the seal, took half the powder out, wrapped the phone in plastic, put it in, put the powder, put the seal. 6 o'clock, the guards arrive. And what they do is they make you strip naked, all 1,200 guys. Then they make you jump with your legs open like you're hiding something. Then you all walk out stark naked into the courtyard, and they do the search. So after the search, I go back in my cell. And everything is upside down everywhere. But my protein powder, still in good shape. 5 minutes later, I'm summoned to the security office. I walk in there, and there are 4 guards standing, one sitting behind a desk, and an empty chair. I hadn't sat in a chair for 7.5 years. He says, take a seat. I said, okay. Sat down. Felt good. He said, do you have a girlfriend called Karen? I said, no. I said, I had one before prison called Karen. He said, okay. When did you last talk to her? I said, long ago, before prison. He said, are you sure? I said, yeah. He hands me a letter addressed to me from Karen. So now I was talking to you on the phone the other night. You sound so positive. After some intense questioning, this thought just came to me. And I said, no, Karen was having lunch in Bulawayo. And she met this lady, and I started chatting. Soon realized that they both had boyfriends in the same prison. So the lady said, well, let me call my boyfriend, who's a guard in there. He can call Russ, and you guys can have a chat. So I used the guard's phone. After I couldn't tell them what the girl's name was, they didn't buy it. Hour later, I'm escorted up to the officer in charge's office. When you go up there, it's big trouble. And they were waiting, like 15 big brass officers were standing in a half circle. Officer in charge behind his big desk and my empty chair in the middle. He said, take a seat. I sat down. He said, if you don't tell me what that guard's name is, your life in this prison is going to change. And I said, officer, I don't know his name. And then the question started. How old is he? What rank? Where did you make the call? How long ago did you make the call? How tall is he? I mean, all kinds of questions. They couldn't pin me on anything. And And then the head of the soccer, a hell of a nice guy, he said, do you want to talk to the officer in charge on your own? So I said, yes, please. So they all leave, close the door. Him and I got on really well. And I said, officer, we've both been through hell. We've watched hundreds of guys die. I donated endless stuff to the prison service. Soccer balls, volleyball net, soccer boots and uniforms for the squad. I said, can't you just let the son go? I mean, the officers were scaling stuff flat out. They were also hungry. And he said, Russ, I don't care about you, but I want that God's name now. And he was angry. I said, well, officer, I don't know his name. He said, okay. Calls the officers, he says, put him on death row in the dark cell. So they escorted me over to the condemned section. They used to hang guys in those days. And there were, I think, 56 cells. 52 had guys waiting to be hung, and there were 4 left. And one of them is called the dark cell, because there's no window, it's just a vent, and that vent was covered by a staircase, and the electric light didn't work. So it's called the dark cell to break people. So you can't even see your hand. The cells are 3 meters by 1 meter by 1 meter, same as my solitary confinement, but this was the dark one. They made me strip naked, gave me 3 worn-out, filthy, lice-ridden blankets, a 5-liter container covered at the top with a toilet, same as solitary, and a liter of water. They locked me there for 23 hours and 45 minutes a day. So I was allowed out 5 minutes in the morning to clean my teeth, 5 minutes at 10 o'clock to have a shower, 5 minutes at 3 o'clock to prepare for lockup. It was cold, lonely, and dark, like being buried alive. I couldn't even see my hand. Desperate, on day 6, I got on my knees and I prayed. And I'll never forget the feeling of like warm water being poured over me, in a total sense of calmness. Sat on the floor, leaning against the wall. Within 30 minutes, I heard my Afrikaans mate very faintly from the soccer ground shouting, hey, Ras, everything's okay, my mate, don't worry, everything's okay. So I jumped up. I said, hey, fool, I said, don't worry, Ras, everything's okay. So I said, okay. Lay down on the concrete, looking up at the darkness. Within 10 minutes, I unlocked my door. And the noise of those locks goes right through you. Chucked in my clothes. Said the officer in charge wants to see you. So I go out into the blinding sun. I've been stuck in that hole for 6 days. Across the courtyard, all the guys running up. Hey, Russ, you okay? I said, yeah, no, good. Up the stairs to the officer in charge's office. His exact words were, he said, hello, Russ. I said, hello, officer. He said, have you remembered the God's name yet? I said, no, officer. He said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave it in God's hands. You can go back to your cell. And at the exact moment when I was praying, my sister was paying him $200 to get me out of there. And that was a big turning point in my spiritual journey with Jesus. And I'm happy to say that Jesus looks after me flat out every day now. I've learned not to let past thoughts hurt me. The past only exists in your head. It can only come to life if you let it. Jesus said in Matthew 6:27, can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? I was forced to live in the moment in prison, and it's one of the biggest lessons I still practice today. To be able to find positives in all the negatives going on around me brought hope, which is a huge part of getting through prison life. Paul said in Romans 5:33-4, let us exult in our sufferings and rejoice in our tribulations. Just read that. Let us exult in our sufferings and rejoice in our tribulations, knowing that tribulation produces perseverance, and perseverance character, and character hope. Hope was a huge part of getting through prison life. It's what kept me sane and grounded in there. Hope is the anchor of your soul. Hope enabled me to see that there is light despite all the darkness. Let your hopes, not your troubles, shape your future. And never look for hope outside of yourself. To find it, you need to look within. You'd said to me in year 1, you're going home in year 3, I would have said never. I'm going home now. 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, I could live with. Anything beyond that was too painful. I counseled myself on how to think through the physical impact my thoughts had on me. Now, if I thought about my fiance with another oak or guys on fishing trips where we went every year, it was too painful. So I'd block it out until that peace returned. And finding happiness in even the smallest things that happened in prison kept me healthy. Those who couldn't died. Life in prison or in Las Vegas is still just life. It's what you make of it, no matter where you are. I had everything I could ever wish for, and in moments, it was all gone. Why you should forgive. James 1, verse 19 and 20. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to be angry. For a man's anger does not bring about the righteous life that God desires. Anger and bitterness. Too many of us carry anger and bitterness through unforgiveness. The humiliation of being labeled a murderer in terrible conditions were extremely hard to deal with. That was what the pain of my bitterness, anger, hatred, frustration, and revenge for what they'd done were doing to me. I hated them bitterly, and initially would lie there for hours, wishing every terrible thing on each of them in turn, the poacher, the police, the judge, the ministry, and all who were involved in my conviction. Then one day, I was struck by the realization that they'd all forgotten about me long ago. Here I was, consumed by the unfairness of it all, and they, blissfully unaware of the evil I wished on them every day. In the end, I was only hurting myself. I was carrying all that in my head and beating myself up for nothing. The single biggest lesson I learned in prison was true forgiveness. And for me, it was bigger than anything I could have achieved on my own. True forgiveness was inspired by God Almighty. And so I was letting go. It was a huge weight off my shoulders. And I learned to live in the moment from then on. The past was too painful, and a future full of unkept promises. So I just dealt with each day as it was. I learned to have faith, because no amount of worrying was going to change what I was going through. If you have anger or resentment towards anyone in any way, it will eventually destroy you. Because that is what those emotions do. They steal from you. They steal happiness and freedom. Jesus said in Matthew 6:14, "For if you forgive other people when they sin against you, your heavenly Father will also forgive you." Many people ask me how I managed to forgive them for what they did to me. I remember the exact moment walking that exercise yard after about a year. And I was tired of all the anger, hatred, and bitterness. It was draining me daily. And I remember looking up, and I just said to myself, I said, "Lord, take care of them. Let me get through this road that's been put in front of me. What goes around comes around. They will get what they deserve. Their judgment day will come." And once I accepted that, my life in prison changed. And the amazing thing was, it wasn't a gradual process. It was an instant mindset decision. It was like I had this secret that I was holding from the Oaks for years and years, so scared it was going to get out. Then one day I just told the guys, "Out." Over. No more hiding nothing. I was free. That's what forgiveness does. It frees you. And you can look at it in two ways. You can forgive, forget, and move forward, or you can retain, remember, and regret. The choice is yours. And if you say, I'll forgive, but I'll never forget, then you still remember and will never move forward. You can't bounce back from anything unless you forgive those who you believe have done you wrong. And only when you forgive and let go of the past can you be fully free to move forward with your full potential. Why you should be grateful. Jesus said in Matthew 16:26, and what do you benefit if you gain the whole world but lose your own soul? Is anything worth more than your soul? What shall a man give in return for his soul? We all want too much in our lives, concentrating on what we haven't got instead of being grateful for what we have. And for me, giving thanks to God every day goes a long way. For my health, beautiful family, lovely home, soft bed, running water, and so on. When there's no food, no water, and people are dying all around you, you become grateful for the fact that you're still breathing. And then another day is a blessing. When you lie in a cell with 78 other guys, and your breath is not even your own, gratitude suddenly has a different meaning altogether. Accepting that what I went through cannot be changed, and being grateful for what it taught me has unlocked my vision for my future. The healthiest of all human emotions is gratitude. Remember that and practice it. Having an attitude of gratitude is one of the most impactful habits for a fulfilling and healthy life. Philippians 4, verse 7. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. I wish I could express the happy, bubbly, exciting, beautiful feeling I feel every day since I gave my life to Jesus. I was a wild teenager, make no mistake. Drinking, fighting, poaching, anything that pushed the boundaries of the law was fun. During the war, we were crazy. Never considering for one moment the consequences of our wild escapades. But had I known then what I know now, life would have been very different. You don't want to know what else I went through in prison. I had to fight for my life on many occasions. And it was by the grace of God that I got out alive. Thousands didn't. With all due respect, be very careful what road you choose to follow in this world these days. Don't start hanging around with the wrong people and pushing the boundaries of the law, because there's no mercy in prison. You don't want to go where I've been. It's real and it's rough. And I give Jesus all the thanks for bringing me through that nightmare. My life just before I went inside. There is a picture in a private jet flying from Tampa, Florida to Reno, Nevada to the Safari Club International Convention. On the left is my client, Ray Anthony, billionaire. On the right is General Norman Schwarzkopf, who's the most powerful man in the world, officer commanding of the United States Armed Forces during the Gulf War. The top left My car in Miami, when I was there, on the right at the top, two billionaires, Glenn Dubin and Louis Bacon, both in the top 500 wealthiest guys in the world. Spent many wonderful times with them. The private yacht on the bottom left, my car in Tampa, Florida, V12 Mercedes, and Ralph Cheek in Chattanooga, Tennessee, another billionaire. My life in those days was all about flashy cars, private yachts, and hanging around with billionaires. I thought I was invincible. Flying high, plenty money, thinking I was bulletproof. But unbeknown to me, I was consumed by power, ego, and money. Satan had sunk his claws deep into my soul, and I didn't even know it. I was as far away from God as I could ever be. And I hope that none of you are following that path today. The only peace you'll ever find is with Jesus. Not another houseboat, flashy car, or another million. After prison, I had nothing. All my companies went broke. I went back into the safari business. They had sold everything. I had 5 safari camps, fishing resort, 11 boats, 9 vehicles, tractors, lorries. All those camps had generators, water pumps, freezers, beds. Full up, the whole lot. Lost everything. I had to start all over again. From being the leader of the pack, and now I had to start again. Went back into the safari business, working for guys that used to work for me. Very humiliating, having to borrow vehicles to conduct safari, to pay debt. I had a mountain of debt left when the businesses went down. They left me 7 million rand debt. I had to pay that back. And then, after 2 years, unbeknown to me, God had a plan for everything. I was on safari with a CEO of a very big corporate here from South Africa, and a very intelligent man called Johan. I'm not going to say his surname. Big tall guy, very, very clever. And on about day 7, he wanted to know everything about my life. So when my dad was born, what sport he played, and went into my life, and lots of red wine. And during my last 2 years in prison, at the farm prison, the rules there were, it was an open prison. So you work, run on trust, the whole thing. There's no bars or fences or razor wire, nothing. And then 5,000 acres, about 100 guys, we ran the prison, the farm for the prison service, and there were beef cattle, dairy cattle, a lot of ploughing, pigs and chickens. And I was a tractor driver, fixed the boreholes, so I was in my element. And one of the rules there was 30 days work, then 5 days home, totally free. So 30 days in, 5 days home, 30 days here, 5 days home. And my first time home, I wanted to show the Oaks that they threw a big party, like 250 people. And I thought I'd better do a speech so that people would think I'm still okay, and tell them what I was, that everything's okay. And I remember afterwards, my national rugby coach came up to me, Bucky Buchanan, and he said to me, "You changed my life tonight, my friend." And I never forgot that. And then I had my 50th, a little while after that, did another talk, also, same thing, big party, a lot of people really enjoyed it. Then when I was released, I did again, another one. And then I was invited to talk to about 100 farmers at the Harare Royal Golf Club, to sit down dinner, about 120 farmers. And I asked if I could just read this talk. And they said, no problem. So I wrote then a nice talk. Now, I was telling Johan about this around the campfire. And he said to me, do you have a copy of that talk? So I said, yeah, it's on my phone. So he said, can I have a look at it? So I gave him my phone. He flicked through it. He said, I've got a new life for you, my friend. This is your calling, and I'm going to sponsor you. So I thought, no, he's had too much red wine, I think. You know, the following day, come back to camp, and there's a message on my phone from Johan. All the details of everything about what we spoke about. How much he's going to pay me for my first talk, fly me to Joburg, put me up, get a PowerPoint presentation team. So the next year, and I just want to give you an idea. Some of you know me like Brady. I'm a bushman. I love the bush, fishing, hunting, wildlife conservation. That's me. Not this. As far away as my life could ever be, standing up here. And something just pulled me away from that, from the love of my life. And I was at the top of my game to come in this calling. So clearly, the Lord had started planting something in me, and I didn't know what it was then. And I started because I wanted to help people get through stuff that I'd got through, and how I got through it. Anyway, I started on the professional. Well, first of all, I started talking to all these little dorpies like Hoedspruit, Nelspruit, PE, Joburg, all over, little places. And all over, but little like, what's the place? Little clubs all over the place. But, and then a speaking bureau got hold of me, and then I got into the corporates. And in that time, I met my wife, and she was a very strong Christian. And now that, you know, the whole time, when I was in prison and I had that experience on death row, I knew, I could feel. I mean, that was a proper encounter, something I'd never felt in my life. Well, I had, but I'll tell you the other one now. But I kept on thinking, hey, but if God is there, how can I mean, I've got nothing. And I was battling, I had nothing. And, but I still, I mean, I had guys saying, Russ, come back, man. Come, we'll start together. We'll start a business. In the safari business. Nah, I wanted to do this. Something inside me said, this is what you got to do. And then I met my wife. And she's very spiritual and very close to the Lord. And she started working and teaching me and praying. And then the prayers had come true. And then she'd pray for parking and she'd pray for bucks and pray this every time. I'm thinking, this works. And I started thinking, and then I started seeing that there's something more in my life that's coming, and I couldn't put my finger on it, because the more and more time went on, I thought, well, let me start putting stuff into my keynote about my encounters with the Lord. And I started doing that, and I started getting like feedback, positive stuff from audiences, from corporates, big corporates, Sun City, Cape Town International Convention Centre, all over. And then I started talking in churches, and then I started feeling like, and then the prophecy started. But in 2019, someone read my book. So after Mugabe was kicked out, I wrote a book. I was too scared to write it when he was in there because he was very instrumental in my incarceration. And when he was kicked out, then I wrote the book. And someone got hold of me in 2019 and asked me if we could have a meeting. So I said, yeah. I said, "I'll just have a chat." So I met him. His name was Thea. A very nice guy, very big man of God. And he just started telling me that there's a bigger calling on your life. So I'm going, yeah, okay. And he said, have you ever been to Israel? I said, nah, I'd love to go though. He said, no, but there's a tour. I want you to come to Israel. I said, well, how much is it? He said, no, it's 36 grand for you and your wife. I said, well, I don't have that buck. And that's just for the tour, not the air ticket. So they said, no, we'll work it out. So I said, well, I don't even have a visa. I'm in Israel. I've got a criminal record. They said, no, don't worry about it. So about the next day, he phones me and he says, can you do a talk at Grace Point Church with Joe Niemans, 2 of you? I said, yeah, cool. I didn't know who Joe was. He's a mighty man, worship leader, and a very nice guy. So Joe and I did the first talk. Joe did the second one. And then the next day, Theo phoned. He said, okay, I booked you on. I paid 36 grand for you and your wife. I said, no. But what about the air tickets? He said, no, we'll sort that out. 2 hours later, I get the air tickets in my email address. I said, no, Theo. He said, it's a blessing from me for you and your wife. That's 24 grand. So I said, Theo, but what about the visas? Israel. No, we'll work it out. And now I'm scared. I don't want to go to Israel jail as well. So I go to the embassy, and to go to Israel embassy is like going to jail. It's stop here, go, stop there. I mean, it's like fort. Get in there, do the interview. Said, can you come back in 2 days' time? Came back 2 days' time. Visa. Couldn't believe it. But anyway, we went to Israel, and what an experience. And that was where my spiritual walk really started turning on. And the first big experience for me was the Feast of Tabernacles. It was amazing that there's 4,500 people at this conference. And you all stand in lines at these little places, and you pick up a hot dog and a bottle of water. There's lines and thousands of people. I take my bottle of water and everything, and my wife come in, and there's a bin there. So I clapped the grace, and then I was drinking, and there's a tall American guy standing there. So he walks up to me and he says, are you a pastor? I said, no. Are you being friendly? He said, the Lord's going to place a mantle on you. I go, okay. He said, you must position yourself. And your hands, you've got healing hands. I said, no, I've been told that. Yeah. So, I had. And then he prophesied to my wife, a whole lot of things about me, and then to my wife. And then when he finished, he said to me, do you receive it? I said, yeah. So I turn around and I'm walking with my wife, and I said, babe, what's a mantle? I knew nothing. And that was the first of many, many prophecies that have confirmed all of that. But the other very important part of this evening was Angus Buchan was the speaker. And his message was the power of the Bible. And he's an amazing speaker and just so down to earth. And at the end, he made 4,500 of us crowd up to the stage, hold our Bibles up, and make a vow. And he expressed what a vow means. And I think all of you know what a vow means. And we vowed loud that we'd read our full Bible. And I made a vow. So I tried to read the Bible. It made no sense to me. Then I had to start reading it. I both got home, my wife and I bought a Bible, and we started clapping. And then I started getting into this is all man stuff, killing each other, and all this. I couldn't believe all the wild stuff in there. Going through it, and then, I just started getting consumed with the stuff, and I read the whole thing, started again. And then I started seeing how one part from new to old, and this stuff started jumping at me, and I thought, wow. So that was a very, very instrumental part, Angus Buchan, of my spiritual walk. That's us down there in the Dead Sea. And the Dead Sea, you can't go under. If you go like that, up to there, you can't go. You just bob like a cork. But it's very, very like minerals. It goes in your eyes. It burns like crazy. And the other amazing thing is it's 390 meters below sea level. And you check on your iPhone, you put the elevation, got minus 390. It's like, if the walls break here, we're done. It was deep. That was the garden tomb. That's the entrance on the right there. And that was an amazing feeling. Really, really. That's inside the tomb on the left. that's exactly where Jesus was laid to rest and where he rose from the dead. And I put my phone, it's like a jail there, all bars and stuff. I put my phone inside and took the picture. But what a feeling. These are some of the olive trees, 2,000-year olive trees in the Garden of Gethsemane. Amazing. And you just want to talk to those trees. Just tell me stories. I want to hear what used to go on then, you know. That was where Jesus grew up. And all the ruins are still there. So you're walking amongst all the stuff, and I'm telling you, your hair stands up. It was an amazing experience. This was incredible for me. So on the trip in the Jordan River where Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist, I got baptized. And that was a very special time in my life. Yeah, absolutely amazing. And that's my wife on the Sea of Galilee in her element, just flying high. She loves the Lord, properly. I had many, many prophecies after that. And the amount of financial gifts that the Lord has blessed us with is incomprehensible. I mean, I wouldn't have the properties or the home I have today. One gift was 300,000 rand, other one was 100,000 rand gifts. At a time when I just, it was actually in an evening when Mugabe got kicked out. And all the guys are obviously getting doped. And I wanted to start living properly. It was hard for me, but that was wild. So I said to no, guys, I'm okay. It was a Tuesday night or something. So, no, come Russ, man. Everyone's telling about all the waiters, they're all from Zim. Come here, man. So I said, babe, we better go. Okay, we're coming. So we go, we drive there on the 3Ks. We get there, and the guy says to me, you're looking unhappy, man. Wake up, cheer up, and Mugabe's out. I said, yeah, no, I'm chuffed. So I said, Russ, what's wrong? And I'd only met this guy that night. And he was a very big figure. I said, no, I've got financial issues at home. You know, my properties, they've got rates. They want to. He said, how much do you need? I said, no. He said, how much do you need? I said, I need 300 grand. He said, Derek, give him 300 grand tomorrow. They gave me 300,000 from that night. I only met him that night. That was one of the times. The other time, my daughter phoned me. I was in Cape Town. Said the sheriff of the court is here. They're writing all the stuff in the house, my car, everything. Auction on Monday, because you haven't paid the rates. Our rates were just, they went from 1,200 Zim dollars to 168 Zim dollars to 1,200 US dollars a month, one property. Other one was 182 Zim dollars, it went to 1,710 US dollars a month. So I had 3,000 US dollars a month rates, just rates, that I had to pay. Of course, they added up from 2.9. And then they said, now they're coming to take the property. So it's sell to pay the rates. And there's only one guy I could phone. And he never answers his phone. Never. He's a farmer. And I just thought, well, he's the only guy. I phoned him up, second ring. Hey, Labuschagne, what do you want? I said, Mike, I need your help. He said, what do you need? I said, I hate doing this, but I need 100 grand. He said, come and see me tomorrow. I said, Mike, I'll pay you back. He said, come and see me tomorrow. I drive there, Mooi Kloof, drive up to his mansion. Young guy, 42. He comes out, I'm driving there. He comes out, he says, wait here. He goes into the garage, comes out with a plastic packet of 20 rand notes. He says, this is 100 grand, and it's a gift from me. I don't want to hear more about it. Put it in the car, let's go inside. That was another gift. I mean, God started working properly in my life. But when you go through what I endured, they break you in every way, emotionally and physically. And you know, your confidence, your spirit, your soul, everything. And to pick yourself up again, no matter how confident you were when you went in, is tough. I had huge wounds that I thought would never heal, and a massive void in my life that I never thought would ever heal, would ever be filled. But the moment I met my wife, Sandra, 6 years ago, I knew there was something special and unique about this lady. Within 3 years, the Lord used her to heal me completely and made me feel whole and content once again. And I could never have imagined the peace and happiness I now experience every day. And I thank you, my love. I thank you, Jesus. In conclusion, I was fortunate. I'd made it big, very successful, and possibly during that time, I became a bit arrogant. But that experience has made me realize that I'm just a normal human being. That you can't value your life based on your title, your success, or your material possessions. If you had everything taken away from you right now, who would be left? What would people see looking at you as a person? We need to look at our core values more deeply and see how we can change lives and maybe make a difference in this world. For many years, I asked myself why I had to go to prison. Why me? What did I ever do to deserve all that? And about 4 years ago, I had a strong spiritual revelation that I was meant to go to prison. And I must accept that. And I thought about it hard. And I now see how the Lord has worked in my life, refining me for my purpose. He took me from humble beginnings to great success, flying all over the world with these billionaires, and going through that nightmare, losing everything I'd worked my whole life for, and now on this beautiful journey. He has refined me for my calling. He has prepared me for what I'm doing now. And I thank the Lord for my 10 years in prison. I do. Because I'm a better person now than I would ever have been. I don't know how to explain this, but I know that I know that I know that He has redeemed me, and I'm a better person now than I would have been had I not gone to prison. I'm stronger, I know God better, I understand people more, and I believe it made me able to reach out to you to tell you that God is out there. He loves you, He has a plan for you, and don't you ever forget that. Can anyone ever fully recover from a terrible setback in life? Well, you're looking at someone that did. You're looking at living proof that you can recover from whatever life throws at you. God will answer your prayers. He'll set your feet back on the ground, and He'll give you what you ask for. Just put your faith in Jesus and walk with Him every day. Amen.